everyone, to all the viewers who are present and who is going to watch this webinar. So here we are from Pragmatic with our second episode of Quick. This things to bring you the knowledge of what Odoo can do, and especially in this webinar, we are going to look into how Odoo can accelerate your growth as an organization, especially in terms of what clarity or what information it can bring with respect to sales to revenue generation, that is the realization of revenue through sales. Our topic is today is basically how very most important workflows, especially 4 essential workflows that every founder must master in order to make sure the sales recorded gets turned into revenue generation, because just recording sales is not equal to revenue. So we will look into all these aspects in our today's quick episode of the webinar. So let's get into it. I welcome you all. So to start with, the most important question that we want to answer is, just recording huge number of sales, does it mean to recording revenue? Because that's what the actual sales should mean. So one of the common misconception is, if the sales are up, the cash will follow. But unfortunately, it doesn't. Most of the times, at least. So unless a very solid process or a very streamlined process is available between sales to the revenue generation as well. So that is what we're going to look into, how we can do this, especially with a powerful tool, ERP Odoo. So one of the key aspects, one of the misconceptions would be the promised deliveries doesn't match stock refunds. That is basically, there can be, for example, our sales will be recorded. That is, I have 100 numbers of sales orders, but are they really dispatched on time? We do not know. If at all, if a proper system is not in place, there can be delayed these things, that is the deliveries, which can give rise to disputes with the customer. There can be refunds, then there can be the customer relationship will go for a toss. That is one aspect. And most importantly, yes, if we have delivered, if we have raised the invoices, our team should sit and manually do the AR follow-ups, that is receivable follow-ups. We might have different payment terms. It could be one invoice could be split into 3 or multiple payments, and we might have to follow up for each one of them. Again, if not with a very good ERP like Odoo. And then we can also put out, because with our sales, if it's, especially most importantly, if it's sales of goods, that is physical inventory, we will also have to track the shipments. We will also need to check whether all the goods were dispatched to the customers in the good condition, whether customer signed the PDF copies of the dispatch and all these things, because these are available in Odoo. So all these things need to be traced if we do not have, or if the organization do not have a very well equipped ERP tool like Odoo. And most importantly, with all these things, like with sales comes the dispatch management, with sales comes the invoice management, then comes the AR follow-ups and everything. So most of the times, these different departments works in silos of their own. One team doesn't talk to another team, or there'll be fragmented information exchange, which will take much number of efforts, unless if they have an automated system like Odoo. So all these things, we'll look into it. And that's when we say growth doesn't die at we winning the deals, that is organization winning the deals, but it dies when cash collection breaks the flow. That is, we don't have a very clear system where my dispatch, my invoicing, my AR, everything is in sync, and most of it is automated. So we look into it much in depth. What we propose as an unified flow up until, because last week, if you remember, we had, in our previous episode, we put out how a prospect can become a sales. That is mostly into how we can channelize our pipeline, how we can put all those manual efforts of maintaining in Excel or in any other tool to bringing up in the system of Odoo. So from there, if a prospect is converted to a customer, we having sales order, then the order getting fulfilled, then generating invoices, including e-invoices and e-way bill. If we are speaking about India as a country, where e-invoicing is mandatory and e-way bill is mandatory beyond a certain distance. So all these things taken into consideration, finally realizing the order as cash. That is the most important thing, where we actually realize the revenue. That is, the orders are all, it is all in the documents and everything, but my real revenue is realized when we receive cash. So up until then, did my dispatches happen incorrect? That is inventory. Did my deliveries and the partners, that is basically, we can have carriers in place. It could be DHL or any other carriers which we will be needing an integration into Odoo. And then did we generate invoices? If yes, if the customer is given the right copies with the signed ones, And also, do we need e-invoices where it has to talk to the government portals? And finally, are the payments in place? How automated are these reconciliations? So all these becomes part of an active revenue generation. It's not just at the sales order the job is done. So basically, it's that one flow, one moment of truth, and one customer experience instead of fragments, instead of clustered that is experiences. So this is where we say an integrated system is important. Going further, what we propose is that now that in fact yesterday and today we have got our Odoo version 19. The best part, I mean, most important parts of Odoo version 19 are the AI features. A lot of AI updates, and now the AI is integrated into Odoo. That's one of the biggest thing. So how that's going to change the complete business. So basically with Odoo 19 and basically with Odoo as an ERP tool, the most important part, starting from the order processing, the system will the system will provide a lot of information rather than manual decisions to be taken. For example, how well is my inventory available to promise to a client? If not, how much time it will require either to procure or to manufacture? All these information we'll get through the system, because we can have the manufacturing lead time in the system, we can have the purchase lead time in the system. So the moment I place an order, depending on my stock availability, system will tell what promises, what dates I can promise to my customer, so that my whole dispatch can be planned, my revenue generation can be planned according to that. And then, as I said, with respect to AI, it can clearly, with AI and automation in place, our AR can be automated in such a way that we don't have to create emails, we don't have to go through the reports manually, we don't have to create reports manually for how much AR should be collected. That is, I have my accounts receivable, that is most importantly the age receivable, available in Odoo automatically. That can then take up follow-up report. We have something called as follow-up reports in Odoo, which can then automatically send emails or by post. We can even have the SMS integration as well in Odoo. Even WhatsApp is available in Odoo. With all these in place, we can customize or we can configure in such a way that automated follow-ups are sent to the customer, so that we don't have to we don't have to download everything from the system and then we have to keep writing emails. All this can be avoided. And most importantly, once the payment comes, can I have a bank integration? Yes. Can we have automated reconciliation? Yes, with Odoo. So all these are possible with various payment providers integrated into Odoo. And finally, as I said, one of the key features, even when the meetings can be scheduled with the customers from the sales team, and orders can be placed during those meetings itself. So all these are integrated in one platform. So these aren't just the features of Odoo, but they are actually time which gets saved, and basically that's cash accelerated, and they are basically credibility built with the customer. These are all key features which many of the ERPs or most of the legacy systems fail to have it in their platforms. And most importantly, with these, what are the most three important things which will boost the cash flow to any investor, or which to any founder, is basically with the inventory in place, inventory visibility in place, we can clearly say, or even the customer can clearly get to know the promised dates when we can do these things. That is, we can, if at all I have huge number of sales orders even during peak sales, we can clearly look into the inventory and also look into the, as I said, the dates that we can promise to the customer. That is, we call it as the lead time. It could be manufacturing lead time or the procurement lead time. And with that, we can make sure there is no overselling and there is no refunds. Next one is, most importantly, with the inventory module also in place, very like integrated into the sales module, we will clearly have the dispatch process configured in such a way that, do we need just one step dispatch, or do we need two-step dispatch? That is, pick the components from the warehouse and then sell it, or we might have three separate stages where we pick, we pack, and then we dispatch. Or we might even have additional ones just through configurations with routes and rules possible, where it goes through a series of steps and finally gets dispatched. So all these things can be automated in Odoo, where nobody needs to create multiple transfers for every sales order. Odoo will do on its own. And finally, as I said, coming to the last part of the AR, this thing, that is accounts receivable part, we don't have to manually do all these jobs. That is, we have the AR receivable. The moment I generate an invoice, it gives me the report of my age receivables. It takes the invoice date, it takes the due date, and it clearly says based on the payment terms, this is when you need to collect the money, this is how much you need to collect the money, and this is your next follow-up. With all these automated things, our manual efforts reduced. So as I said, cash flow gets optimized and the business starts growing. As we clearly say, how it will impact, one of the key aspects is basically on-time in full. That is, can we keep up our promises as an organization? It could be with respect to dispatches, that is the materials, when it actually, based on my sales order, can it actually fulfill the order on time? That is the most important. And then days sales outstanding. These are the reports which probably many other ERP tools do not support, but we get all these data by default in Odoo. And most importantly, even with respect to inventory, are we picking the right products? Are we picking the right lot numbers, or are we picking the right serial numbers with the right expiry? All these things are automated in Odoo. So with all these things, it's not just about what you track, but how quickly you can act with the data. It's not about manually, because there are modules available in Odoo and you can just do all the transactions manually. But then having an automated system doing the job, instead of having all the things manually, we can automate all these processes. So with these, you can see the inventory accuracy can be increased with up to 98%, and we can have the production on time up to 96%. So these are all a couple of aspects. What are the key other important points which the founders miss, but always investors look forward for it, is basically the AR escalation discipline. That is, yes, we generated sale. Yes, we did all the inventory were dispatched to the customer. We generated the invoices. Everything is in place. But who does the follow-up? Because if there are thousands of invoices in a month and they are split into various payment terms, we will probably need an accountant, multiple number of accountants, just to sit and do the cold calling or writing an email or sending an SMS campaign just to make sure our invoices are followed up. But what if the system can do it, so that the accounts person or the accountant can validate all these aspects? They need not sit and do the manual job of email writing or sending through WhatsApp or sending through SMS. So based on our payment terms, what if the system can act and do the thing? So that is something called as follow-up reports, which is available in Odoo, which does the job, where it clearly sends the friendly nudges and clear reminders, and finally an escalation through the partner ledger report or with the email escalation itself. So these are the automations that are available in Odoo, which can reduce the efforts manually. Second is basically with, as I said, the logistics margin leaks. That is, Odoo has very clear integrations with the carriers. One of the things which I mentioned is the DHL. So if at all there are bulk shipments that has to be provided, or we need these connectors, that is dispatch connectors, to be put out, we don't have to depend outside Odoo, or we don't have to look outside the system, because these are already available in Odoo. Based on the capacity of the whole shipment, we can book the thing carriers based on the volume, and we can put out the prices. We can have the prices in the connectors, and we can definitely put out through the destinations, through the volume, depending on all this, which truck, who is the person handling, how the vendor bill, everything is handled through the logistics, can be taken care of, automated in the system. And most importantly, again, mentioning the cash clarity. That is, once the money comes, how do I reconcile this? Can I have an integration with the bank account? Can the statements be downloaded automatically? Can those be reconciled with our AR, that is basically the payments received? All these things are available in Odoo as an automated function. Imagine these many functions to be done manually can be reduced. So the teams, that is the organization's efforts, goes not into doing transactions, or not into entering, or not into doing the manual work of writing an email, following up with the customer, but into just recording the transactions in the right way, so that their productivity increases. They can learn more into the system. They can increase the scalability of the whole team, so that more business can be integrated. So these are a couple of things which we call it as a foundational behaviors that separates a business that's just busy from one that's truly built for scale or just doing transactions. So as I said, from deals won to cash in hand to investors' confidence, with Odoo, what we can do is we can fulfill the orders on time. We can clearly get to know what is my inventory available, what can I promise, what I need not promise, or how much time do I need for other inventory to come up so that I can promise to the customer. This will reduce the disputes with the customer, tickets with the customer, and also refunds. Second, when I have the cash, we can clearly generate a cash flow based on all my payment terms with all the other aspects, payables and receivables, everything included. We can have very clear, predictable cycles. And most importantly, all my AR nudges, as I said, the follow-ups, everything can be streamlined and the manual efforts can be reduced. And last importantly, with all this in place, the investors and the founders, especially the management of the organization, can have real-time dashboards. They need not worry until someone prepares a report and provides them, because in Odoo all these reports are available the moment a transaction is done. Someone does a payment, it comes in the dashboard. Someone completes an invoice, it comes in the dashboard. So the manual effort of preparing the report itself is completely out of picture. So with all these things, we can take in decisions quickly, or most importantly in real time, based on real data. So that is the most important thing. So revenue, reputation, relationships all flows hand in hand. That's the most important aspect. So this was a very short insight into how sales can be automated. What are the steps that we need to do, or what are the things that we can connect? That is the sales coming from the CRM part, and then connected to inventory, then connected to the accounting part, which is the AR. So this is a very quick guide through how we can automate this whole things in Odoo and how it can help. Next time, in our next webinar, next episode, in fact, we'll get to see how we can put out with how the revenue, especially how clean the revenue flows, and what all steps we need to add. I mean, what all steps we need to take care within Odoo, so that we have a very clear clarity with respect to revenue. Yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening.